Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, April 9th, and we are talking right now with SBR baseball analyst Ian Cameron, and we have been assigned to cover the Texas Angels game that goes tonight. Ian, this is an interesting one, of course. It's Holland at Santiago, two quality lefties. I think we can expect both of them to have reasonably good starts to the year, although it wouldn't be a shock if either of them had an unexpectedly bad start. Holland, his velocity's down, that's well known, but he and other people are saying that that's okay because he's getting good movement and good location. And Santiago, pretty good last year, had a pretty good spring, puts up good numbers in general, a little bit prone to giving up home runs, but at his home park, it's probably a little bit mitigated. And the Angels, of course, got crushed by the Cubs in their first two games of the year. They scored one run total in those two games, but they were up against Arrieta and Lester, so they get a little bit of a pass for that, I think. Holland could shut them down, sure, but he's not as sure of a thing to shut them down as Arrieta and Lester. I don't know. This is tough. My sense is that if there's any edge on this game, it's small. My lean would be to the Angels at -110, maybe small lean to the under at 8. What do you think?
You know what? From a starting pitching matchup, there's very good potential that the LA Angels might have the edge in this particular matchup, just because we're not quite sure of what we're going to get from Derek Holland, the Texas lefty, in this matchup tonight, just because of the fact that Jeff Bannister, the manager, has been talking about the fact that, he didn't have the greatest velocity and didn't have the greatest final start in spring training prior to tonight. But the good news is I do think there is still some upside on Derek Holland. He should be a lot healthier this year than he's been in years past. And I do believe the Texas Rangers, when this price where you see it right now near even money between these two teams, the starting pitching matchup largely indicates why the line is where it is. You've got to look sometimes for other edges that you might find in terms of lineups, defense, and bullpen. And when it comes to lineups, defense, and bullpen, I think Texas probably has the better of it in all three areas than the LA Angels. I mean, this LA Angels lineup, we talked about it yesterday, just not a very good lineup whatsoever. Outside of Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, and Cole Calhoun, there's not a lot of guys in the bottom third of that lineup that can string hits together and come through in the clutch with runners in scoring position. So I think it's going to be a very, very tough task for the Angels to score runs on a consistent basis this season. And as you can see clearly earlier this week, 15-1, they get outscored by the Chicago Cubs. So definitely some problems already developing for that putrid Angels lineup from what we've seen this season. Texas, I've been talking about how good this bullpen's been for Texas, but boy, they had a rough series against Seattle, including yesterday. How about Sean Tollison, the closer, having a very rough go of it, blowing the game in the ninth inning, and Seattle wins that game 9-5. But, I want to pump the brakes on ripping this Texas bullpen. It's still very early in the season. I think Seattle's got a better lineup than people think, with Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, Kyle Seager, guys like that can really hit the baseball for Seattle. So I don't want to push the panic button just yet on this Texas bullpen, just because they had a rough opening series. I still think they have a better bullpen than the LA Angels do. I mean, Houston Street, still the closer of this team, still a guy that I don't think is going to get any better. If anything, he's going to get worse now as he gets older. And Houston Street, still a guy that I don't trust to duplicate the kind of numbers that he had last season. So I have questions about the Angels bullpen. I don't think they're a very good defensive team either. There's a lot of holes in terms of quality defense on this team. So yes, even though the starting pitching matchup is a toss-up, you could even say Hector Santiago has the slight edge in that regard. I still think Texas overall is the more complete, well-rounded baseball team, better lineup, better defense, and probably an edge in the bullpen as well. So at this even money price, a team that I've been hyping up a lot early in the campaign, I'm going to side with the Texas Rangers here at this near even money price and look for Texas to get the victory against the Angels here tonight.
All right. Well, right now, the best line market-wide can be found at Heritage, actually plus 108 you can get on Texas. And what do you think about maybe just a shot with the under? The Cubs games both went under, I believe. Best line we can get right now is also at Heritage, 8 plus 100 on the under. What do you think about that?
Yeah, in theory, the LA Angels, especially in these nighttime games in Angel Stadium when the ball doesn't quite travel as far as it would, say, in daytime games here in this ballpark, definitely, in theory, LA Angels games under the total make a lot of sense to me in this kind of setting with this kind of lineup. Like as I've said, one run in the first two games against the Chicago Cubs. Really, only the pathetic San Diego Padres have done worse offensively in the first series of the season than the LA Angels. So, yeah, this is going to be a team that's going to struggle to generate runs, I think, for the majority of the season. Wouldn't argue with anyone interested in looking at this game under the total.
Ian Cameron, thanks so much for your thoughts. As always, very in-depth.